So I put out that little photo, didn't I, to the community.
Oh, yeah.
We had a bit of feedback.
Right.
People were quite disappointed with your lack of Christmas attire.
That's funny, because all I saw was a load of people saying, come on, you Spurs.
The quiz, is that what you're called? The quiz?
Come on, you Spurs, yeah.
Oh, come on, you Spurs. Anyway.
At last.
Well, I thought I would get you something that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I do know you well.
Right.
And I have to say, I mean, it's not about the money.
No.
But this thing was expensive. So, AKA, you've got to wear it.
Okay, wear it. Oh, fuck.
Watch the pure joy on his face. It may never materialise. Official merch.
Okay.
Come on, that's good, right?
Yeah, that is. I mean, if you're gonna wear a Christmas sweater, let's just open it and get the noise out of the way. Then a Tottenham Hotspur one is the way to go.
Yeah, look, come on. You can go in there and put it on.
I will. Yeah.
I'll sit here. Don't worry. I'll keep them busy. Not a problem. Can you feel the joy radiating off of him? Expensive, that official merch, isn't it?
Oh, you got to pay for quality, mate.
You really do.
That's what you got.
It's better. Like, honestly, you're talking like double this.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the thought.
Yeah, the thought was definitely there.
I thought that you want to wind me up and make me wear a Christmas jumper.
It's lovely, isn't it? Jared, should he wear a Christmas jumper?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're doing two birds.
Yeah.
With one.
But I'll give you that. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, two birds with one cockerel.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly right.
way to do it.
Glenn, you're looking fantastic, mate.
Thank you very much.
Friend.
Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp and welcome to yet another day of our 12 days of SwitchUp series. Today we're going to look to the future, basically.
Look to the future, yeah.
And we're going to look at the best games coming out, at least slated to come out, for the Switch in 2024. Now, when we looked at last year's video, obviously we did this back in 2022. For the most part, I think they all come out. I think Silksong was the only one that didn't. But yeah, for the most part, they did come out, so that's good. So yeah, let's see what's coming out next year.
Lovely job. As always, in the description, we have savings on physicals, digitals, and joycons as well, actually.
We do indeed. And just a quick thank you to our sponsor of this whole series, Untold Tales. We will highlight another one of their games from their huge sale that they've got currently going on in this video. So which games are coming out for the Switch in 2024? Well, let's find out.
Alright, Untold Tales, the sponsors of the 12 days of SwitchUp, would love us to highlight today Blazing Beaks, which is down to £1.34. That is a crazy price on what's an excellent roguelite. Now, Blazing Beaks, as the title suggests, sees you playing as different types of birds. They are heavily armed birds, it has to be said, and you can play this one with a friend in co-op. Much like something like Enter the Gungeon, you have to make your way through the stages, but the interesting twist here is that you can basically take on negative character modifiers, but if you can last until you reach the shop area at the end of the stage, you can then sell those for some positive modifier. It's a really nice little risk and reward system. There are some tough boss fights in here, and there is also a 4-player competitive mode where you can just play against your mates trying to destroy each other. Really nice game, this one. And for what, 134 or your regional equivalent? Yeah, definitely an easy one to add. We'll pop links to it in the description and the top pinned comment.
There are some cracking games to come out next year, to be fair. So we're going to take this list up to about the middle of the year. So the ones that we really know are coming earlier on, some things that you can look forward to. Starting off then, we've got Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, and I'm hoping actually that we'll have a video of this one out. If you remember, there was Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Well, this is the much anticipated sequel to that game from the same development team that takes things in a slightly different direction, where this time he's actually teaming up with the fearsome Pickled Gang to plan and execute the weirdest heist in, well, it's the weirdest heist, isn't it? Let's be honest. You'll actually have to shake down hostages, steal precious valuables, battle the police, and use a variety of different tools bought off of the dark web to move further into the vaults. Now that is quite a darker twist, isn't it, than just on the old slightly rubbish mare in the first game. There's a heavier action focus here, I think, and obviously the inclusion of guns will make the combat, from what I've seen so far of the early footage, feel a little bit more like something like Enter the Gungeon. I'm really excited to see what developer Snoozy Kazoo can do with this, and as as I say, we're more than likely going to be covering it in some form, aka I know that we're already covering it, but I'm not allowed to say. Yeah, potentially. Then in the same month, we've got Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Now, thankfully, the embargo is up, so I can tell you that I've actually played the first 4 or 5 hours of this, and it is amazing. This is one that I wouldn't have had on my wish list. To be honest, I just thought, well, you've just ruined it by making it a Metroidvania. But then I played it and was like, oh, okay. Oh, all right then. This is, the combat is very slick. There's very fast-paced counter moves you can do. You've got a dash that means you can avoid damage quite easily. But what I also like is there's accessibility tweaking. So if you're someone that finds their reaction times aren't the best, you can actually tweak the speed at which you need to press the button to do things like counters and parries, which straight away means that the combat can be perfect for you. And then the exploration around the maps is so cool because you've got a group of immortal characters with you. Now, I don't want to spoil the story, but you are one of what's known as the Immortals, and they join you. So whereas in 99.9% of Metroidvanias, you're just moving around an area on your own, you kind of meet random people. You've got this group of fellow heroes joining you for the party, and then there's a story, and such a good story, that will kind of interject every now and then. You'll hit an area and the story will play out a bit more. Now, there are trees, so every one of these Metroidvanias has its benches or its stalls or whatever, the areas that you rest and save, but there's trees here. But what I really like is that they've managed to maintain the fluidity of movement from the Prince of Persia series. Everything controls so well, and you unlock new moves, and it actually ends up fitting that Metroidvania style. Now, I mentioned to Glenn the other day that actually what they seem to have done is looked at things like Metroid Dread and said, okay, what works there? Taken those elements and just kind of cherry-picked the best of the genre, and fair play to them. Then they've got the pedigree of the developers from the Rayman Legends game. You can see their work in here already. And yeah, I would just say get a lot more excited for this one, because I think it's gonna do really well. And it was nice because we were also able to give some constructive criticism, say, actually, do you know what, that doesn't work quite as well as you might think it does. So you never know, we might have a little influence on the final product. Now, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown releases on January the 18th. I think it's fair to say that we're both quite excited about Tomb Raider 1 to 3, the remastered collection coming. I'm not quite as excited that it comes from Spire, I've got to be honest, just because their recent they've dropped a few things that I was very looking forward to, but I'm still pleased to see it's on its way.
Yeah, these were published by Eidos, I think, back in the day, obviously first time round back in the 90s. And if you grew up in the 90s, then Lara Croft was an absolute gaming icon, wasn't she, back then? She was actually based, funny enough, on a mix between Indiana Jones and Tank Girl.
Okay.
Do you remember Tank Girl?
Yeah, I do.
In terms of her design. But yeah, these games, so you have Tomb Raider, obviously Tomb Raider 2 and 3, and these come with the expansions too, don't they? These remasters.
Yeah, and that's nice because back in the day as a kid, I never bothered with expansions. I did the game, and to be honest, I didn't even know there were. I didn't know there were back in the day. Now, they've improved things like the lighting and stuff like that. It remains to be seen how they're going to perform, but I think there's been quite a bit of work, even just looking at the screenshots and stuff, to the original games.
Yeah, they've certainly polished out some of those jagged edges that the first games are well known for. And this one will be coming on Valentine's Day, funnily enough, if all goes well, February the 14th, 2024.
One that seems to have been in development for Switch for, well, almost the Switch's entire life cycle. I remember the announcement coming years ago for this. It's Kingdom Come Deliverance, the Royal Edition, which includes all of the DLC. This is an exceptionally good game. I don't know if you've played this one before.
No, I haven't. I remember you playing through it and telling me about it, some years ago now on other consoles, obviously. But no, I haven't played it myself.
I think it's arguably one of the best of this genre that has ever existed in terms of being historically accurate. I mean, I'm a huge nerd, and I watched a program on the accuracy of the castles in the game.
Oh, nice.
And the historian was like, oh my goodness, this is like a time machine.
Wow, nice.
Every little part of it is spot on. They follow the character Henry of Skalitz, and he's so normal. I loved it. It's like you just plucked random English bloke out of anywhere and stuck him in a game. No nonsense, no let's go and take them all down. It's like he's rubbish. And he starts out rubbish, physically pathetic, making all the choices that real people would make, hang on, those people are getting slaughtered. See you later.
Yeah, I'm running, I'm out of there,
He's gone the skis. And if they manage to bring across this version and it runs well, people who have never played this should definitely be picking it up.
Lovely stuff. Also, you said it comes with the DLC, but that includes Treasures of the Past, From the Ashes, The Amorous Adventures of Bold Sir Hans Capon, Band of Bastards, and A Woman's Lot. So also in February next year, we have Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Now this series has been going for a while, all the way back to the Game Boy Advance, but you could probably trace its roots back a little further than that to the Donkey Kong game that came out for the Game Boy. I think it was around about 94, which kind of set the general idea, whilst being a remake of the original arcade game, of how this series then plays out. So this one's kind of like almost like Lemmings to an extent, where you have to lead the little minis, the little Mario minis, to the exit on each level, obviously traversing a number of different hazards and pitfalls as you go.
I haven't played the Donkey Kong, even the classic one, the one that everyone's played.
Oh, right.
Does this include elements of that, do you think?
Yeah, it does to a degree. I mean, obviously, like I said, Donkey Kong, the arcade Donkey Kong was a different animal, so to speak. And the Game Boy remake of that, whilst staying true to that original arcade game, just fed in a few little things that then almost morphed into this series over years, you know, some 10 years later or so. This, if this stays true to its roots of the other games, is a great game. Yeah. Great series, so much fun. A puzzle game, but really does get you thinking, you know. And I can imagine being Nintendo is going to, have a huge amount of charm in there as well. And I just love Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's he's the man, he's my favourite character.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, that one releases on February the 16th. Then one I'm particularly looking forward to as a huge Star Wars nerd and someone that loved this back in the day. We've got a remaster of Star Wars Dark Forces, which is coming from Night Dive Studios, probably using that proprietary engine they've used for Turok and some of the other remasters. It's nice to see them actually bring back another one of these classic games. Now this one looks to run at 60 frames per second. It has all of the original game features, but yeah, to be fair, from what they've done in the past with this series, I am very much looking forward to see what they do here. We've had a number of the Star Wars games release on the Switch, and this is another one that I think is worth keeping your eye out for. Now it's due to release on the 29th of February, so a couple of months yet, but hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit more coverage on that when it releases. Okay, next is one that looks very nice indeed and has a really nice collaboration between, who is it? It's Atlas and someone else.
Yes, it's Atlas and Vanillaware.
And that's Unicorn Overlord. Now, this one, according to the blurb at least, presents the rebirth of tactical fantasy RPG. Now, that might be a bit of a bold statement.
Yeah, it's certainly a bold statement. So it goes on to say that you'll fight against fate and embark on a royal adventure to regain your reign alongside trustworthy allies.
Now, I have to say, just from a completely superficial standpoint, this looks beautiful, doesn't it?
It does, it looks lovely. I mean, it has that classic Vanillaware look to it. It does promise over 60 unique characters, from humans and elves to beasts and angels, and I'm assuming you'll be crafting a team to suit your playstyle as you go.
That one is due to release on March the 8th.
Also next year we have Princess Peach Showtime. This sounds quite interesting, this one. Has quite an interesting theme. As far as I can understand it, at least. Peach goes to the theatre and something goes awry, and she needs to end up fighting off, I think they're called the Grape and Sour Bunch or something like that, and taking on a number of different roles, which will affect, I'm assuming, the gameplay and what you have to do with each stage.
It's interesting to finally get Peach's own game. You know, people have kind of mentioned this over the years, but it seems Nintendo have finally decided, this is the time.
Yeah, she did have one before.
Oh, did she?
I think it was on the DS, I might be wrong there, which was, I've never played it, but from what I understand, it was a quite a wholesome game, nice, fun game to play. I don't think the difficulty was too high. It'll be quite interesting to see if they persevere with having a low difficulty for any game that she's the star of, or whether they'll change that this time round, you know?
Yeah, so this one releases in March, I think it's the 22nd of next year.
Also this year we have Eiyden Chronicle 100 Heroes. Now this is the second game in this series to come to the Switch, I believe, with the first one being a prequel to this game. And this game was a Kickstarter back in 2020. It was actually the #1 funded Kickstarter of that year. I think that prequel may have been one of the the tiers.
Right.
One of the goals for that Kickstarter. I may be wrong there.
Yeah, the prequel has set up the characters. Obviously you don't need to have played it to enjoy this. From what I understand, it's gonna be a completely standalone experience. But I was very impressed by that. And it centers around the Chaldean Empire, who seems to have edged slightly ahead of the other nations, but discovered a technology that amplifies the rune lens's magic, whatever that is, Glenn.
Fantasy. Go.
So that one releases on April the 23rd. Now, Contra Operation Galuga is one I think you'll be looking for, Glenn.
Yeah, so this is a return to form, apparently, going back to the classic roots of the Contra series. I don't think there's been a new entry in that classic style for Contra since Contra 4, which was on the DS some years ago now. Obviously, we had that top-down one that I didn't think was as bad as the rest of the world seemed to, but it was a classic Contra, that's for sure. And this one, as I said, promises to go back to those roots. It's going to have 2-player co-op mode in story and 4 players in arcade mode, and it's being obviously published by Konami, but it's actually been developed by Way Forward, so it has that quite iconic style of theirs in terms of the aesthetic.
Then we have Penny's Big Breakaway, which I've got to be honest is a rubbish name.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And it's the team that created Sonic Mania.
Yes, so Sonic Mania was a fan-made game, wasn't it, that Sega kind of had a little look at and said, yep, thank you very much, come and make that for us. And this is their next game, which is a 3D platformer this time, starring Penny and Yo-Yo.
Now, it's not all about looks and names and things, but they're not sounding iconic, are they?
No, I wonder if Yo-Yo is actually a yo-yo.
Yeah, I think it might well be actually. There is a trailer of this one as well. It's looking good. It's looking very, very fast paced. It does feel like potentially the Sonic game this team wanted to make with completely different characters. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I think the yo-yo mechanic is a big part of it. I think you'll use it to get through particular parts of the environment or ride on at times as well. So that's quite an interesting concept. I do like the art style as well. Looks like, just from what I've seen, a lot of pastel colours in there.
Yeah, it's like a halfway house. You've got the characters that always have that almost cell-shaded look without the outside lines. But then you've got those pastel kind of, not low poly, because there's a bit extra detail, right?
Yeah, I like the look of this one actually. It's always nice to see a new 3D platformer come along because we've mentioned it recently. I can't think why or where, but it is a genre that does seem to rear its head every so often, but it's not one that people seem to be able to get right very often.
No.
So anyone that tries, all power to them.
Yeah. I'm not going to say Balan Wonderworld.
Yeah, just one example there.
So there you have it. Those are the best or most interesting games that we could actually find information about coming out in 2024. Let us know if we've missed any. I'm sure we have. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video and Glenn's jumper.
It's very smart indeed, very smart. Do let us know which games you're most looking forward to that are coming out for the Switch next year. And as we said at the beginning, there are some links down there if you want to get yourself some eShop credit, some eShop cards. You can get those on our website. You save yourself a little bit of money. There's a link to Play Asia down there if you want to import any games. And just one more thank you to our sponsor, Untold Tales, for sponsoring this whole series.
Lovely stuff. All right, thanks to our Patreons and our members and all of you that enjoy the content. We've both got colds, so for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!